Welcome to another Grit and Grime basketball podcast. I'm your host, as always, David Sagoe, here with the head of HR, Thomas Arnal.
Damn right. You're on a warning.
Already. I ain't even done nothing. And the security guard, Jose Garcia. Vidal.
Hello, people. Hello.
We are back for another podcast, and we are going to be discussing some other people that are back. In the last week, we've seen the return of both Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson. They gave us the perfect finish to an amazing Christmas game a few years ago, and both missed some time, very different reasons, but they both made their return this week. So we're going to kick things off with the most recent one. So last out, first back in. And that is Klay Thompson, announced last at the player introductions. Steph got the hell out of the way. But when his name was called, he was already in the huddle to give that big lead up to Klay Thompson. Crowd erupts. Great moment for him. He's just one of those dudes that loves to play. So he jumped back in. Well, before we start, I mean, are you guys aware that it had been 900 plus days since Klay
That's ridiculous.
941.
941.
And did you know he still played more than Kyrie?
Yeah.
In the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
How?
Well, Kyrie has some injuries as well and some personal issues. So I see why.
Not well, Klay hasn't played at all.
Yeah, he was in the G League. That's more games than Kyrie.
No, so maybe not 2 years, but I will find this information and I will back it up. I will back it up.
We can prepare.
I will back up my words.
I was just struggling to figure out how he could have played more in the last 2 years when he hasn't played at all in the last 2 years. But you find your fact. Yes. When Klay Thompson last played, Kawhi Leonard was a Toronto Raptor. Anthony Davis was a Pelican. Drew Holiday was a Pelican. James Harden was a Rocket. Kemba Walker was in Charlotte still. Kyrie Irving was a Celtic. Kevin Durant was also a Warrior. Jimmy Butler was still in Chicago, I want to say.
No, he was in Minnesota.
He was in Philly.
I was in Philly. Oh.
Yeah, he was in Philly. Yeah, just wild to think how many things have happened since he graced the court. But yes, so they rolled him out. And have we found it? Have we found it?
I got it.
Okay.
So they were drafted in the same season, right? So they started playing the same season. The actual data was that Klay has played more games than Kyrie Irving overall.
Right.
Despite missing 2 seasons.
That
shows that shows that Kyrie is a liability, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always missed like knick-knack games. I don't think he's ever played all 82.
Maybe for the Cavs. Maybe his first 2 seasons were quite No.
He didn't even play his whole college season.
I can't. So we'll talk about Kyrie later. Sorry, let's talk about Klay.
Cool. So yeah. Any thoughts outside of the actual game that he played on?
So good.
Klay.
Well, was Klay's dad also an NBA player?
Yes.
Yeah.
Laker.
Yeah. It's just great to see him back, man. Like, besides the actual game, as you just said, like that dunk, all the hype behind it. What I noticed is that I think his like first 2 or 3 shots, he was still finding his way around on the court. Like his form wasn't perfect. But then if you take a look at his 3-pointers on the second half, that's Klay. That's him back 100%. I think he got a couple of lucky shots, to be honest, in the first half. He still didn't shoot great from the field, which is fine. But and he took more shots than he should have, probably because he was allowed, right? Like nobody cared. But I think second half, it was great to see him fully back. And this Warriors team is freaking scary right now with this guy and the other guy. You know how when you play 2K and somebody picks the Warriors and you're like, ugh, and they start shooting threes and they kill you. That's what's gonna happen now.
Yeah.
Because you also have other guys that can shoot the 3-pointer really well, right? So
yeah. Jordan Poole moves to the bench now. He was giving them a lot of scoring, and now he gets to do that against more bench units.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, their depth is really their biggest asset. It's people have already forgotten that Draymond only played 7 seconds in this game.
7 seconds.
He just wanted to be out there when
Klay
tipped off, but he's injured, so he just fouled someone and then bounced from the game. And yet, without Draymond, they held the Cavs to 82 points. Scary hours.
It's scary. Did he actually beat a couple records as well on his return?
I think he went over 12,000 points. That's like a milestone. 1,800
3-pointers. That's a lot of numbers. So I was teaching my kid how to count. 1,800 3-pointers. That's a lot
of threes. That is a lot of threes.
Is Klay's younger than Steph, isn't he?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Not by much though. Not by much,
no.
I think the gap is similar to Steph and Seth.
I don't know what that gap is, so sure.
But yeah. So he's back. First bucket comes off a curl and goes to the rack, finishes on maybe 3 Cavs with the floater, and I was like, he wasn't doing that before. Why is he doing that now?
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
And then as Jose already said, second half crossover, he gets the switch, which doesn't even happen normally, right? And he crosses over on Jarrett Allen, which also doesn't normally happen. It might be the second crossover I've ever seen Klay make.
I know.
Drives to the rack and throws it down on 2 more Cavs, right on their heads, man. And I was thinking, shit, this guy really believes in his legs.
It's crazy, and you never see him dribble at all. So it's quite interesting to see him doing that sort of move. So he must have been training quite intensely.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, this guy already has so many resources that can kill you, and he's just adding to his repertoire, and now can dribble and do a step back and do a crossover. Like, whew.
Yeah,
it's hot.
Yeah, if he starts doing that and shooting off the dribble as well, like, yeah, it's really a wrap for the league. But hey, someone has to win it, eh?
Indeed.
And if it's not going to be Westbrook,
yeah.
Yeah. But they ended up winning it with defense. All of that said, Klay played 19 minutes, 55 seconds, just under 20 minutes. Took 18 shots.
Yeah. Gunning. Exactly.
For 17 points. 17 points in 20 minutes is pretty good.
Oh, yes. Efficient.
Time efficient.
Time-wise, yes.
A lot of shots jacked. But they continue to roll. Are they above the Suns now? No, same record.
Same record, I think, yeah.
Same record. So they continue to jostle for the number 1 spot in the league. Anything else on that?
No, just happy to see him back, and it's at the time where everybody is getting, into COVID troubles, to see somebody else of his quality coming back it's always a breath of fresh air, right?
Yeah. Touch wood.
Yes. Yeah.
Them protocols are swift. Someone else who commented on his return was Danny Green, and he said if he could take the play back, he would have, because it was his contest on a Klay dunk that led to Klay landing off balance and jamming up his knee. And he said he's really glad that he's back playing hoops.
That's nice of him to say.
Yeah, because there was nothing dirty about the play. It was an honest contest.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just wishes it didn't result in that.
There's no one that has anything bad to say about Klay, so that's what's funny with him. It's like everyone was happy to be there, and I'll see him back on court. I think Trae Young had a tweet saying, "Oh, amazing to see him back," or something like that. Which probably is not the same sentiment that the next player we'll talk about.
I guess not.
Maybe not from the general public.
Some people do like him. But yeah, I guess we transition to
smooth
the great Kyrie Irving
in his head,
who made his. Is he great in his head?
I think I think he
he's
thinks
greater.
He's greater in his head.
His basketball's Kanye West.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I'll take it.
He's good. Like, he's great, but he's not that great,
So Kyrie made his return on Wednesday. He played 31 minutes, 59 seconds, scored 22 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists in a 129-121 win over the Indiana Pacers. Kyrie returns and is only able to play away games. But he looked like Kyrie, to me anyway. He was back in his bag, crossing people over, driving, pulling up. He was, back to being him. And I think the Nets have really needed the extra scoring punch. I don't know if you guys know, their defense is actually ranked higher than their offense.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So they haven't had the same kind of potent offense that they did last season, even when 2 of the stars were around. But Kyrie returns. Your thoughts, gentlemen? Take it away, Tom. Fill us with positivity.
Positive. I didn't know I didn't miss him at all. So his return made me realize that I actually didn't care about him. Anyway, so good. I guess the Nets needed him to be back because they are lacking in. I don't know. I have nothing positive to say about Kyrie. I'm sorry, I just don't.
You don't miss the handles, the layups, the mid-range shots. No.
I think that, watching this guy is like, let's put both players that we're talking about them in perspective. And we just said it. Who has anything bad to say about Klay, right? Like, I'm not saying what Kyrie does is wrong. I don't. Although I think I disagree with what he says, right? He's very opinionated. He has a very strong personality. Fantastic. But that's going to get you some enemies, right? So make you some enemies. I think that since I disagree so much with what he does off the court, I'm kind of blinded by that. or that blurs my vision when I see him play. I'm like, I don't care. I see these handles. I agree with you. He's back. Like, the guy looks like he never left. And I don't know. It's just. I don't care. I agree with you, Tom. I don't care.
In terms of basketball, of course, you want to see talent and you want to see good players and stuff like that perform. So of course, it's nice to have him back. he would be actually quite interesting if we ever do a special episodes on the legacy, the player's legacy and what you leave behind in in your career. He would be a very interesting case study in terms of the image,
how you will remember him,
how you be remembered, and how some players actually live for that, some others don't really care about that, and it's all about it's quite interesting to see different personalities. So again, I mean, I know it's got a lot of good sides to him as well. There's a lot of stories that are not spoken about in the media and stuff like that, but
100%, and I guess like thinking back of what I just said, it's like, I don't want to sound wrong. Like I love watching him play anyway, right? But it's like I'm looking forward to watching him in like big games, like Klay. They played against the Cavs in regular season game. I'm like excited to watch him, But Klay, but Kyrie, he's back after such a long time, and he's such a big thing. And I'm like, I'll be happy to watch him on Thursday against the Bulls, for example. That's gonna be fun, right? Or in the playoffs, it's a different story, but it doesn't mean as much to me as Klay was, for example.
Same. What about you? Because you're the Kyrie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's back because you get to watch him play, and to me, he's definitely top 3, top 5 most exciting players to watch in the league. Ja is trying to challenge all notion of what it means to be an exciting player in the league. But yeah, for me, he's top drawer in terms of watchability. I didn't rush to watch the highlights or anything of him. And I did rush to watch the highlights of Klay. But he has a more attractive game than Klay.
Depends what you're looking for, though.
For me,
Klay's way of moving off the ball and being efficient with that, for example, is no dribble scoring record that he had. That's also skillful in a very different way.
It is, but no, that is a skill. It
is a fucking skill.
The reason why I'm hesitant to just jump out the window with superlatives for him scoring however many points he scored without dribbling is he did that because he's not a great dribbler. So I don't necessarily want to celebrate his lack of skill in an area, right?
But that's made up with other skills that meant that he could get in shooting. But anyway, yes,
you're right. But yeah, to me, Kyrie is top draw as a watch. Kyrie the person is complicated, right? Because he's done some things that are undeniably great as a person, and then he's done some things, said some things that can influence people in negative ways, and that's his right. Like, he gets to be an individual, he gets to be a person, he gets to make mistakes, he gets to say things that I don't agree with. I wouldn't go.
He single-handedly destroyed the Celtics by walking around saging the place.
Oh gosh,
they've never been the same since then. They've never been the same.
You see,
that's cool. I respect that. But just like Phil Jackson used to have the
Exactly. Phil Jackson used to do the same. But when Kyrie does it, all of a sudden it gets all of this negative attention, and that's what I'm always
fair enough,
adamant about pushing back against, right?
Of course.
It's the scapegoating, it's the unbalanced thinking, right? If you're only looking at the fact that he refuses to get vaccinated and you act like that's the worst thing in the world when there's other vaccinated players in the league playing and not getting anywhere near the same level of scrutiny, right? When he before the bubble said that they shouldn't play for the purposes of like the Black Lives Matter cause and all of that stuff that was going on at the same time, then they decided to play, and then the players ended up walking out on games, right? And sitting out games. You could say that sent a bigger message because they had played and then set out games, but ultimately he was right in his sentiment, right? That they should make a stand because of what was going on in the country. He then went on to, I think, pay for George Floyd's funeral costs, was it?
Yeah.
I believe so, yes.
He's contributed his salary to the WNBA. There's all kinds of causes and things that he's put his money and his mind towards.
You're right. Yeah.
And I just feel like people don't look at both sides of the person.
I agree, and I actually have to agree. I fully with that, because what you hear about Kyrie is only bad things, and that's what. Since I don't look him up constantly, like I'm like I stopped caring about him. So and all you keep hearing about him is whatever comes up in the big media, right? So the guy does great things as well. So it's just like I said, like I think that what most people are thinking is they didn't care as much as Klay coming back. Like Klay was a more important thing. But I think bottom line is it's good to have them both back. They are good for basketball. So from that point of view, it's like fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And Kyrie can only play away games. That's the other thing, right? Kyrie's not 100% fully back. I was thinking, like, has he said something about possibly getting vaccinated?
Apparently there was a vegetarian option.
They were
there's a COVID vaccine in the works which hasn't been tested on animals and doesn't use any animal products, etc. And he was interested in taking that vaccine because he has said that originally his issue isn't vaccinations. It was the way that things were being handled, but apparently that piqued his interest.
Okay,
so it's possible if that is rolled out in time. It's not likely, I don't think, that will be out in time. But it sounds more like from the interviews he's given that he's hoping that either the city changes their stance or the NBPA gets involved, or the NBA changes its stance. He's hoping that something changes that allows him to play more so than going to get the vaccine. But who knows? Maybe the pressure will get too big for him going into the playoffs.
It's possible.
Because as it stands, the Brooklyn Nets are in second in the East, and the Toronto Raptors are in 7th in the East, or near 7th in the East, I think.
Also, if they play the Raptors, he won't be able to play at all.
At all.
That's fun. That's a fun concept. It's like you're out of the games not because of through injuries or through anything that happened to your own body directly. It's just laws. That's quite
laws. Just Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, another one. Djokovic.
Jesus Christ.
Yes? Where?
Oh man. But yeah, when they get him fully integrated back, potentially, if that ever happens, and get Joe Harris back, they could potentially field who is it? Bruce Brown, obviously being the best player on the court.
Of course.
Kevin Durant, James Harden, Joe Harris, Patty Mills, Kyrie Irving. Like that as a rotation is deadly.
Oh man!
Wait, can they do the 5 shooters? Can they do the 5
on paper?
KD
On paper,
they can. KD can play center, 100%.
And then who? Harris, Irving, Mills. Yeah,
Harden.
Harris, Irving, Mills, Harden.
Oh,
on paper, sounds good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's scary.
If you ever seen any Nets game, there's a lot of it. It's left to improve.
Oh yeah. They have
As a basketball team, it's scary, but not the good scary. I'm talking like what's going on. Like individually, yeah. I mean, it's very hard to match up against that. But like as a basketball team, my God.
But they just have too many resources, man. Like they can score, man. It doesn't matter if you're not a good basketball team. Like it's the NBA. NBA is not so much about team play anymore.
And also they haven't had all their players. I think that's why it's looked ugly. Like the other day, they were playing the Clippers, and towards the end of the game, they lost the game. But towards the end of the game, Patty Mills fouled out, and the Clippers players started saying two shooters. They've only got two shooters, and they just started doubling Harden and doubling KD, and that was it. No one else could score.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen so many teams that are lacking players, and they could still run their plays and somewhat be creative with their coaching and how they would do things on the court. But it's like, yeah, that's why I don't 100% totally agree with, like, you can miss players. Yeah, of course, like the finishing touch and that some players are just over in terms of quality, right? And how they can take a situation that doesn't look good and come up with a basket, for example. Like KD does that. Kyrie could do that. James Harden somehow does that. Westbrook used to do that. There's this type of players.
Why'd you have to go there?
Used to. But like there's somebody that would create something. But you can still rely on players, and that's where I think that one of the main issues, the coaching as well. Like you put Steve Nash anywhere else, you'll get found out real quick. Feel like,
I actually think he's done a good job because of how depleted they've been. I looked at it that way. I mean, not as good as like a Ty Lue, for example, but I think he's done a decent job there.
Yeah,
but hey,
I don't know. But there's a lot of coaching roles these days. I mean, sometimes in the NBA, but like you see it in football as well, where you don't really manage the technical side of it. You're there to manage egos and locker rooms and stuff. So in that case, I guess he's done a good job in that respect, because we've not heard anything mad coming out of there. So that's good. That's always a plus. Yeah, I'm talking about just like actual coaching. It's like to a degree I would also understand and agree to that he's still one of the top teams in the East. So that's not an easy fit these days. There's a lot of good teams in the East. It's
got 99 teams, but the Knicks ain't won. Hey,
hey, we're there. We're coming back. If we could play the Celtics all the time, we'd be going back. Like we'd be second or something.
Oh, what's this? The Knicks beat the Spurs.
I know, right? Oh,
you guys had a showdown last night.
The fourth quarter was all Knicks.
Of course.
We just run out of players, man. We have like 5 active players, I think.
Yeah, when you're starting Primo, it's bad.
Oh man, the youngest player in the league.
Yeah, and Pop doesn't like playing young players.
No, unless you're French.
That's why Thaddeus Young doesn't play at all anymore. Oh,
wow! Bang.
Gotti.
He doesn't though. He doesn't get any minutes.
Yeah, it's so weird.
He's the only player over 30 in the Spurs
that doesn't play. Oh, is he?
He's the only player over 30. Actually, no. Doug McDermott just turned 30, but he's the oldest.
That's crazy. And looking at that Spurs bench, I can see why you lost.
Nobody, man.
That is a crazy lineup on the bench. NBA champion Devontae Kaycock shouts.
Well, I was saying to Tom earlier that at least DJ Murray, he's leading the league in steals.
Yeah. I mean, he's been good. He's definitely an all-star candidate.
MIP.
You think he's in it?
In the discussion,
Yeah.
who's another one? Who
There's
else?
a couple. Darius Garland.
Mm.
We can do this in a couple weeks, I think.
Oh yeah, we
Discuss
will.
the MIP. But yeah, Garland, Miles Bridges has started to fall off.
Yeah.
Who else? There's Desmond Bain, Memphis.
Sure.
He's been really good. Who else has taken a leap? Maybe even Anthony Simons for the Blazers.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can do that in a couple weeks. Revisit that. So in the spirit of talking about players coming back, I wanted to discuss a few comebacks. So that can be from injury, from suspension, illness, etc. Who came back and had an immediate impact. Someone want to go first?
Yeah, actually one that we didn't mention before we started recording. It's Kawhi. He had that injury with Spurs, after I can't remember exactly what was the timeline, but he got injured in the playoffs, Western Conference Finals against the Warriors, where Pachulia puts his foot underneath him, allegedly.
Yeah.
Not like by accident, but I don't think so. And then he gets another injury in his leg, thigh, right?
Thigh injury.
The Spurs doctors tell him he shouldn't play, so he should play. He thinks he shouldn't play, goes to a different doctor that tells him he shouldn't play, blah, blah, blah. Gets some pops bad side, doesn't play for a year and a bit more. Gets traded to the Raptors and wins championship and finals MVP and that iconic game winner in Embiid's face.
Yeah.
I remember I was watching that game live and I just couldn't believe what I was watching. It was, do you remember the ball almost went out of the rim like twice?
It bounced 4 times. It bounced 4 times.
And it looked like it was coming off as well. Like I was like, done. I couldn't. I think one of the greatest stories because he carried that team. He had some good backup players. Like Siakam played his best season with Kawhi, right?
Yeah.
Fred VanVleet, amazing. Kyle Lowry, really good as well. But the proof in his impact is that when he left, everybody else stayed, and they lost badly. So
second round.
Yeah, but they weren't the same team. They weren't the same team. You could tell. So I think that's a great comeback story, in my opinion. And who says he might do it again? Hopefully, we'll get some sort of Kawhi if he's back next year.
Hopefully,
because he's not back this year, right? He's not back this year.
They were saying actually he's ahead of schedule, so he might well return this year. So there is a chance that he comes back and plays during the regular season and then manages to play into the playoffs. It's possible.
That's a game changer.
Nick Batum was on a French podcast where he said that he's not actually allowed to talk about it fully. It's not the franchise has said, please keep it quiet. But he was hinting as him training already with the team and looking good. And it's like, but I can't give you a date or I can't give you the specifics.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think he'll be back.
Kawhi doesn't like stories getting now. He wants you to be as quiet as him. But yeah, that's an excellent point. He looked very good from the very beginning of that season as well. He came straight out the gates and he didn't look like he'd ever been injured. So I think that was also, he really started to show off his jump shot that season as well. That's when the mid-ranger was like super consistent and he started getting the Jordan comparisons with the big hands, the defense, and the mid-range jumper. Yeah, he was a beast that season. That's a good one.
Yeah, and I think Kawhi. I think that he proved himself to everybody, including myself. Like I thought that the Spurs were the perfect team for him, right? For his development, it was perfect. He was surrounded by the big three, a lot of older players, arguably the best coach. for developing players. And then I was like, I don't think he's going to do that well in any other team. But he was helped massively by Coach Nurse as well, who, by the way, coached the BBL, right? Amazing coach. So I think that it was just amazing. That season to me is like remarkable.
Yeah. He brought the entire country of Canada a championship
and made Drake happy.
I want my chips with the dip, he said. So yeah, that happened. I'm gonna go back to a player we've already mentioned. Kyrie Irving.
Of course.
He, after one of his many injuries, came back after leaving the Celtics and choosing to go to the Nets, and he returned for the 1920 season. It looks here like he only played 11 games, which is sad in itself. But he returned and dropped 50 in his first game back against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He had a gamer score of 40, which is nasty. He had 50 points, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, and a block. Shot over 50% from the field and from three. And it was just one of those vintage Kyrie performances where he could barely miss a shot. And yeah, he was doing it all. And it was, I remember watching it as well. And just thinking, like, the guy is just basketball he's just the epitome of basketball skill. Like the handle, the jump shot, the layups, like it's just always something to watch with him. We've spoken about him before, but yeah, I remember that performance standing out in recent memory as a great comeback game. People were getting on him for leaving the Celtics, getting on him and Durant for teaming up. Durant wasn't going to be there that season. And yeah, he popped up and just, bam, 50 points, 38 minutes.
Nasty.
So you want me to take the MJ?
You can choose whatever you want to choose, Tom. Whatever you want to choose.
That's a good comeback, man.
You reminded me of that one, yeah. So I might as well take it. Where Jordan came back out of his first retirement.
Yeah.
Was it?
First. Baseball.
In 95. So I had to look it up quickly, but it was March 95.
Did he wear 45 on that game?
Wore number 45 and scored a double nickel. What's it called? 5-5, 55. And game for 113-111 win over the only team in New York. So yeah, he's
you mean the Rangers?
The Rangers. Only three
Giants?
only 3 points made.
Mets? The Yankees?
The Yankees.
New York Red Bull?
Yeah.
Do they have an NHL team?
The only basketball team.
That's the Rangers.
Rangers.
Liberty?
Liberty. God. I forgot. It's all right. You keep talking. Anyway, he only made three pointers in that game. So imagine the rest.
They didn't shoot 3 pointers back then.
He didn't shoot. He didn't need to. It's just all mid-range.
That's
and
crazy,
dunks.
man. 55.
And the funny thing is that he also scored all of those on John Starks, who's a
really good defender.
Allegedly a good defender. But again,
he's too
against
small
MJ.
to guard Jordan.
Yeah.
He's too little.
Funny and true. Yeah. True story is the first time we saw, any player rocking the baby and he's too small. That was created by MJ, 1995. True story. Look it up.
Creator of
lie.
cliches.
Copyrighted.
I think it was the 35th time that MJ scored over 50 in his career at that point, after only having played like fucking couple of years. So,
That is ridiculous. Yeah, it was like his third game back, something like that.
it was his third, like he was back 10 days before. Like a week and a half. I'm just gonna try and drop 55 on defenses, like actual ruthless defenses. Like
yeah. But hashtag not my goat.
You do you. I'll
I'm
stick
joking.
with mine.
Definitely my goat. Yeah, that is crazy. Did we have any others? Any others to?
You can talk about KD. KD came back strong.
Yeah, only
You
played
see what
30
he's doing right now?
games, but yeah, in terms of how well he played in the playoffs and stuff, it's good to see. I don't think we've ever seen anyone come back from an Achilles like this. Neek was always the example, but Neek wasn't this.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy.
Well, there's one, but I don't know if he really like Magic Johnson.
Yeah, that's a good example, actually. Yeah,
as in because can you consider it as an injury because he's retired because of an illness?
Still a comeback.
You know what I mean? Like it's more because we're talking about comeback from a big injury, right?
Yeah.
Again, he was out of it for a while, and then he came back and he had
played center.
Absolutely, yeah, played center. I was like, what? So that was something I remember watching the highlights of that and still wondering, like, how do you come back from what he had or still has? But you know what I mean? Like from everything that surrounded that, what happened to him, and then he had a bunch of crazy games with like absolute monumental stats, like 15, 20 assists, and you're like, guy's just absolutely amazing.
He's another just basketball savant, man.
Yeah,
that guy was Mr. Basketball, and that what that did for not just the perception of HIV in the NBA, but the perception of HIV in the whole world.
Yeah,
because it was an international event when he announced that he had that he was HIV positive. So for him to return to the court and then for the league to like first of all let him come back and put in protocols and things like that that are still
to this day,
that have made it safer for anyone to play basketball. It's just a really, really, really huge thing.
Because before him, you could bleed, like have an open wound and still be on the court. And I think he's that. Thanks to him, they changed that rule from like anyone with a cut or anything.
Yeah,
gotta go out. Which makes sense. I mean, you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, what did he do? First game back. Where are points?
There's somebody I'm forgetting, but I guess it's annoying me now.
10. Yeah, he's a wild boy. But yeah, I guess if there is someone we're forgetting, you can sound off in the comments.
Yeah,
because we're gonna wrap up here. We will be back next week. Fingers crossed, we're gonna have a guest. And we're going to try to have a rotating fourth chair for the next few weeks. So yeah, we hope to have some really fun, really interesting guest appearances over the next few weeks. And if you enjoy the pods, please leave us a review wherever you listen to the podcast. 5 stars, please. If not 5 stars, keep it to yourself. Remember, 4 stars is just as bad as 1 star.
If you ain't first, you're last.
So you one winner. Like, share, subscribe, rate and review the podcast. Good old-fashioned word of mouth works too. We are at Grit and Grime Pod on all socials. So holler at us in the comments, message us if you need to. We're happy to chat hoops anytime. I've been your host, David Sagoe. He's been head of HR, Thomas Arnal.
I'm still here. Remember, no parties allowed during lockdown. Remember,
none.
We'll find out.
We will.
HR would always find out.
Get to the bottom of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so will head of security, Jose Garcia. Vidal.
Yeah, I mean, if you give me enough cash, I might shut up. You know.
Okay.
might
Emails
might
and
unlock
servers.
some doors and leave them
I
open.
might, yeah.
Turn off some
The
cameras.
server room is the one you want to have open. Just to delete those emails.
Might take a 4-hour break.
Yeah.
There's always good aircon in the server room.
It's very nice.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Bye.